Welcome to Hemp Barons. I'm Dan Humiston, and on today's show, we have a really heartwarming, inspirational story about a family whose persistence and faith in the power of cannabis helped their son overcome the spectrum, or autism. This is a really fascinating story, and it continues on today as they spread what they learned to help other families. Let's join my conversation with Justin Benton from 101 CBD. Hey, Justin, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Your company, 101 CBD Story, starts off very similar to so many other great companies in that in an effort to help one person, you discovered, I guess you call it a CBD formula that helped many people. And in order to help everyone, you created 101 CBD. Can you briefly tell us the story?
Well, briefly, I'll try. Essentially what happened was 5 years ago, our son was diagnosed on the spectrum. Some call it autism. It was a severe diagnosis, and just like any parent who would get that kind of shocking news, you look and you go to do research and you talk to doctors and you just try and dig deep. And we came across the Charlotte Figi story out of Colorado. And there was a lot that made sense to us. Obviously, it was plant-based. It was natural. She went from around 300 seizures a day to like one a week. I come from a very holistic, healthy background. It's how I was raised. And so we gave it a shot. In fact, we tried the same formula that worked for her, but didn't have any success with us. So I wasn't ready to give up. I had a background in cannabis and in health, and so I grew some myself in my backyard out here in Southern California and just did a real simple cold press extraction. We were out at a pumpkin patch, and he was having a horrible time, my son. He was hiding under a bench, kind of having a tantrum, and I happened to have some in my pocket I had made earlier, put it in his mouth. Within 5 or 10 minutes later, he's out picking pumpkins with his two other sisters, having a good time. The grandparents were there, and they were like, wow, did you see that? And so that was the beginning. That's when we knew we were onto something. And what we did was, the main thing was keep the plant as it was meant to be and kept it raw, kept it true full spectrum with all 113 cannabinoids. He gets it every morning. He had some this morning in his juice. And we're pleased to say after 5 years, he's, as far as we know, the first child who's been taken off the spectrum diagnosis, but just with natural foods and supplements.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations. It's like a heartwarming story, and I think it gives inspiration to a lot of our listeners. The story hits close to home because I have a good friend, Osiris Steffen, and he's dedicated to finding a CBD cure for his son. And I know how complex this process is. In his case, and I'm sure it's similar in yours, the slightest deviation in the formula would impact it. Just so our listeners can kind of get a better understanding, if you could just dial it back for a minute and give us some foundational information. You mentioned full spectrum, you mentioned raw. Yep. Maybe explain the differences on those so people understand why this is so complicated.
Sure. Well, here's the exciting part. It isn't complicated because what we do here at 101 CBD is make it as simple as possible. Look, this plant has been around, documented for 60 million years. The human species has been around for roughly 30 million years. We just basically have grown together from this planet and have a very similar DNA structure. So it's basically called now the endocannabinoid system. Very simple terms. This plant contains 113 cannabinoids. Our bodies have an endocannabinoid system that's set up to receive cannabinoids. So we were starting to find out, obviously, what CBD can do. Now, the old ways of extracting cannabinoid from the cannabis plant were to make sure that you were activating the THC. So activating THC, when cannabis is in its raw form, it's called THCA, the psychoactive component. Well, if you ate raw marijuana or cannabis, just like in the movie Up in Smoke, when Tommy and Chong and Cheech and Chong get pulled over by the cop, he starts eating all the cannabis. In the movie, he gets all, psychedelic and whatnot. Well, in actuality, you wouldn't, because raw THC is not psychoactive. The problem was, when we started finding out about CBD and stories like Charlotte Figi, we decided, well, let's apply the same thing to here. Well, unfortunately, that's not how it works. There's no reason to activate CBD. It goes actually from a three-dimensional molecule when it's a CBDA, acidic precursor form. You burn off the acidic precursor, and now you have a completely different molecule, CBD, which is a two-dimensional. And when it comes into contact with our receptors, it basically skips to the receptor. So it might give you some short-term relief, but it won't give you that three-dimensional multiple point contact, and that's why we're seeing these long-term healing benefits of CBDA, especially in the case of our son and many other complicated diseases out there. So I know that might be a lot of information, but just understand, the more simple you keep it, just like the plant as it was meant to be, like juicing it, that is really where we found the true power of the plant.
And that's where the term full spectrum comes in.
Correct. So full spectrum, whole plant extraction, we call it true full spectrum, a holistic full spectrum. It's the whole plant. The best way to consume this plant is juicing it or eating it in a salad like mixed greens. Unfortunately, there's some issues with not everybody has cannabis growing in their backyard that they can do these kinds of things, especially in different parts of the country, depending upon the weather, the time of the year, all those kinds of things. That's why we've patented multi-level extraction processes that keep the plant as pure and as simple as possible. Some of it's called subcritical CO2 extraction. We also do some hydro extraction. We also do some sonification extraction. And again, all we're trying to do is get a really high concentrate of the true full spectrum, really featuring that CBDA cannabinoid, and let Mother Nature work the way it's supposed to and interact with our bodies.
And it's also, I think, important that we mention that yours is all organic.
Absolutely. Organic's huge. And the cool thing as of right now today, Memorial Day, May 27th, 2019, there are no approved pesticides for hemp because it's brand new, just got passed with the Farm Bill. So right now, all these new farmers are going to have to learn to grow it old school. And because hemp has those terpenes, which we can talk about later, it has its natural fighting off of the bugs in the plants or all those types of things out there that usually come into contact with it. And hemp obviously heals the soil as well. So it's just an amazing plant, and there's so many uses for it. We all know about the CBD stories that we've heard, but there's just so many more exciting uses, and I know Bob Hoban was on here and talked about them all, and we can't wait to get America's original cash crop going again, and we're here to help any way we can as well.
Oh, we're just scratching the surface. We are just scratching the surface. But before we change the topic, you mentioned terpenes. Maybe just touch on that real quickly, because it's another confusing aspect of the problem.
Yeah, I mean, terpenes are real simple. It's basically what makes the plant smell, right? And so every plant has a different smell. We've heard all these wild names for cannabis these days. And what we're finding through research, again, holistic, full spectrum, whole plant, keeping the plant together, is that the terpenes, so there's different terpenes that would make it smell like basil or a citrus or lavender. And these terpenes by themselves, like essential oils, have therapeutic benefits. Like a lavender smell scent can give us that relaxed, calming state. Where what we're finding, and again, we're all learning at the same level, and it's just a beautiful thing with technology and whatnot, is that terpenes are actually part of a delivery system. So how the plant smells will actually determine how it reacts with our body. So what you want to do, again, is to keep that entire plant exactly the way it was grown, and we can grow specific cannabis plants for specific issues, whether it's pain, whether it's anxiety, whether it's sleep. Really pairing those terpenes with specific cannabinoids like CBD, obviously CBG, CBC, CBN. The list is going on and on. There's 113. So we're just literally at the tip of the sword here, and we're so excited to see this cannabinoid medicine. We work with people like Dr. Bierman out here in Santa Barbara, and just really understanding how does this plant work with our bodies and how can we really maximize the benefits. It's just really an exciting time.
Yeah, I would say for sure. You mentioned how it reacts with our bodies, and back to children. Yep. I know that as they age, dosing becomes a concern or something that you have to factor in. Maybe take a minute to explain how dosing is something that you're also challenged with.
Well, and again, so the cool thing is that CBD is in broccoli. It's in kale. It's naturally occurring in our own bodies under the form of 2-AG. This new world that we live in where people think that you need to take a single molecule like a pharmaceutical pill to fix one thing. And as we all know when we listen to the commercials, there's a laundry list of about 18 other side effects where it's like, you know what, I'll just keep the rest.
Yeah.
So, as far as how the dosing works, we always say start slow. Everyone has different receptors. So there's CB1 receptors mostly in our head, CB2 receptors mostly in our body. And some people can take microdosing, which is very small amounts of CBD, and see immediate positive effects. Some people don't have as many receptors, and so you have to do more. It really is a fine line, and every single person is different. And we get that question a lot, is how much do I need to take, and when will it start working? Because we're all used to taking a pill and then the pain goes away. Well, obviously, forcing the brain to release dopamine or what have you, and then we all know what it does to our liver and kidneys, right? That's just not natural. The cool thing about the endocannabinoid system and cannabinoid medicine is our bodies have a priority scale. So we might have a bad back, but your body might say, when you take these extra cannabinoids like CBD and full spectrum, might say, look, the back pain will get there. We have some liver issues over here. We need to get some enzyme production up. So it's going to immediately go to the things that it innately sees as a top priority. So with children or anybody, just start slow. You can increase the effects or increase the amount to see if there's a desired effect. And if by increasing the effects after a week or two, you don't see any real change, well, then maybe go back to where you were before. Mm-hmm. So that it's just real common sense. Start slow. We all have the technology in our pockets. Now, jot down a little note each day how you felt, or if it was for a loved one, any notices or any changes you noticed, because we all are so busy that it all can blur together.
Yeah. Well, I'm on your website right now, the 101cbd.org, and just looking at some of the products that are available here, it looks like you can just order them online.
Absolutely, yeah. Order online. Here domestically, we ship to all 50 states. We really are priding ourselves in being an international specialist as well. So we ship to over 200 countries. Wherever you want it to go, we're going to do our best to get it there. We really firmly believe in this cannabinoid medicine, and we're here to help connect people that want to try it. We've aligned ourselves with organizations like the Autism Hope Alliance that gives a free bottle to families that have recently been diagnosed with autism. Anybody that comes to us with a child or a family member who is on the spectrum, we give them a free bottle. Our goal ultimately is to make enough money and get enough investors and align with enough organizations that we can just give this stuff away. We really believe in this product. We've seen what it's done for our son and our family. We've seen what it's done for so many families across the country and the world. It's just a plant, and at the end of the day, if we can just educate people about how it works, you can grow this in your backyard, and you can juice it yourself, and you can put it in your salad, and just understand healthy living. Just roll it back to simpler times, and CBD has been away from us for basically 75 years now that it's back from the Farm Bill here in 2018. We're starting to form another relationship with us. Some of us say that there was an infinite wisdom out there that kept a plant buried for 75 years because we never introduced any GMOs or any pesticides into the plant. So now that it's bringing back, we're all very cognitive of GMOs, we're all very cognitive of pesticides, as we've seen in these Roundup lawsuits that are coming out. So we can just say, hey, this is our chance to really get this thing right, really understand that this plant and us belong together in their most natural, pure, basic forms.
Wow. The passion just comes out in your voice, Justin. You're an evangelist.
It's our mission. Thank you.
Inspired listening to you. We've been speaking with Justin Benton from 101 CBD, and I have all of his information, including everything about their company, on the MJBulls website. Justin, thanks for taking the time to give us a lot of the entry-level CBD information that just people really need to know this. I know the name of your company is 101 CBD, and it's named after Highway 101, but it seemed like today's show you did a little bit of CBD 101, giving us the basics, and I really appreciate you taking the time.
Absolutely. We're all about education here. We just want to educate anybody. Any questions you have, reach out to us on our website or give us a call. We're also having a raw CBD fest out here in California at Pier Shoals, June 29th. It's free raw CBD. We're giving away free CBD to the dogs, bacon flavored for the upcoming 4th of July. They don't really like those fireworks. So if you're out here in Southern California, you want to hang out on a Saturday afternoon at the beach at noon, we're having that raw CBD fest. There'll be music and free food and things like that, and free hemp shakes.
Nice.
And come check us out.
Sounds like fun. I wish I was going to be out there.
Thanks so much for having us on, and we're really here to support the movement.
Keep up the good fight, and promise to be back on the show again.
Anytime.
All right.
Anytime.